Welcome to week 6 of Advancing Professional Career. Once again, we have been having some really fine conversations in our last week critical reflection and talking about a number of different ways in which critical reflection can benefit us personally and professionally, and really even exploring what critical reflection is for us. We had some really good discussions in our activity and some also very good discussions in our pedagogy forum. So we're bridging this week, again staying with Cranton and looking at becoming a transformative leader and learner. So I've got another framework for us, and let's take a look at that framework. Cranton is challenging us to consider whether we wish to be change agents or supporters of the status quo in our organizations and communities. And even if we don't make a choice, we're making the latter choice. If we don't make a choice, we are choosing the status quo to support what is existing right now. And Cranton claims it is not until people see themselves as having the power of questioning systems that social reform can occur. Individuals come to know themselves by becoming conscious of the sources of their perspectives. So that means really looking underneath what our perspectives are. That had to do with the critical reflection too, didn't it? And she goes on to say, when this awareness exists, people are then able to negotiate social change. So first, we really have to become vulnerable. We really have to look at who we are and how we do things and why we do things. To question, why do I think the way that I do? What is that about? That's more than reflection, that's reflexivity. She suggests that the willingness to consider change or upset disturbs our comfortable equilibrium. We're going to talk more about that disturbing when we move to Fullen, who also talks about that. And really that also has to do with Mesereau and transformational learning, is disturbing our equilibrium. And she suggests that there are those who believe that living on the edge or in the margin advances social change. So what does that mean when we're living on the edge or in the social margins? The metaphor that I use is, if you are comfortably in the middle of the stream, swimming downstream, you simply don't notice who disagrees with you, who's in the margins, who disagrees with the majority of the people. However, if you are in the margins, you're typically swimming upstream because so many of the mainstream ideas run counter to your way of thinking. So it's useful for us to consider who's not in the mainstream, whose views are not being considered, or whose views are in many ways hegemonically being overrun, not only not considered but completely trampled because they aren't even noticed. So the challenge this week is to notice how you respond to considering yourself a change agent, to what those things are within you that either embrace or perhaps are repelled by the idea. What sort of role would you feel comfortable stretching into? And sometimes comfort isn't a word that we would include when we're stretching into something, is it? In order to make that change agent role yours, the way that you can make it part of who you are, to challenge what's happening. And maybe you then think of some things that are in your personal or professional context that you would like to challenge. Some things that maybe should be, that someone, and we always say that, don't we? Someone should do this. And maybe that someone is us. Maybe it is. So let's think about that this week. So let's take a look at what our activities are. We've got a planned activity that is to construct a matrix of the domains in which you are self-directed and which you could be self-directed in your professional influence. And so let's take a look more closely at that. First, before we go to our activity, let's take a look at the professional membership selection and critical journal review. You know what? That already is something we've turned in, isn't it? So the next thing we have on tap, and it shouldn't have been here, but is due February 28th, is the first edition of our roadmap. So I'll go ahead and fix this, but know that it is the roadmap, and it's roadmap draft or part 1, however you choose to view it, that will be what we will have as our project that's due February 28th. Okay, so then let's close this and go back to our course, and let's look at our activity. Again, we're talking about constructing a matrix of the domains in which you are self-directed and those in which you could be self-directed to increase your professional influence. And increasing your professional influence might be kind of pushing back on those things that you think might need to be changed. You might want to be that person who steps up and is a change agent. That doesn't have to be part of your self-directed matrix, but you might include it. What I would like you to include are elements that increase your opportunities. So think about what those might be. They might also, those elements might pair with things that you would include on your career roadmap. And what are those things that you would have in place to foster autonomous or autodidactic learning? Again, autonomous and autodidactic learning is slightly different. This autodidactic learning is even more on your own and purposeful learning. In what way does critical reflection contribute to self-directed learning? And conversely, to transformational learning. I've got a little video here on the ladder of accountability that Lisa Hawkins provided for us, and thank you, Lisa. In what way does accountability move us toward self-directedly toward transformational learning, and really even more to transformational leading? So take a look at this accountability ladder video and consider critical thinking, self-directed learning, and transformational learning and leading. Let's then go back to taking a look at, let's go here. And gosh, I've kind of messed this up. Let's go back and look at this. And we'll go into our course again. And we will slide on down, and I want to look at our pedagogy forum for this week. And in our pedagogy forum, we're becoming conscious of perspectives as part of what Granton was talking about, to look below what we think. So again, Granton claims it's not until people see themselves as having the power of questioning systems that social reform can occur. individuals come to know themselves by becoming conscious of the sources of their perspectives. So why we think the way we do. When this awareness exists, people are then able to negotiate social change. And we always have change before us, don't we? Sometimes we choose to lead the change, to be change agents, whether we're leading from in front, from the side, or from the back. We can be change agents. So here are the questions I'd like for you to consider in our Metagogy Forum. What are your primary guiding perspectives on your work and your role in the workplace? Your primary guiding perspectives. Then what are the sources of those perspectives? In other words, why do you think as you do about your work and your role in the workplace? Why do you think the way you do? Then what could be improved in your sphere within your workplace? How might you influence that? What are you willing to do to implement your recommended improvement? What resources do you need? Who can help and who actually might hinder? What are the advantages and disadvantages of doing nothing? So if you sit back, if you embrace the status quo, how will things go? What are the advantages and disadvantages of you leading social change? Whether it is from the front, from the side, or from the back, what are the advantages and disadvantages of taking a lead, being a change agent in that change that you recommend? What is the first step, and when will you take it? So these are questions that we will discuss in our Metagogy Forum, Becoming Conscious of Perspectives. And that is our week ahead of us. Week 6 already. I'll see you in the forum.